I still love working in school. It's a great experience. When you find the right school as well and the right people. But I look at what the classroom teachers have to do and I just think, right, I'm done. See you in a bit. See, you can have your holiday pay and your sick pay. See you in a bit.
Yes. Hi and welcome to Big Gig Energy, a podcast by musicians for musicians, helping you get bigger gigs, no matter what level you're at. I'm your host, Steve Leggett, and with 10 years experience as a professional musician, doing everything from pubs and functions to travelling the world in a ukulele boy band, I understand that being a musician is rarely the glamorous experience people make it out to be, and that building your career up to a point where you get to go pro is about the most challenging professional leap of faith there is. But I'm going to use my experience and insight, and maybe a guest or two, to help you activate your own big gig energy and take things to the next level, whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out. So, let's get to it. Welcome back, gang, to a new episode of Big Gig Energy. This time I'm interviewing Tom Favell. Tom's another musician I met through my boss, Jack Ellis, founder of both Jack's Instrument Services and Tiny Tone here in Manchester. Tom's a musician and a teacher who's had a fascinating and varied career in music. In this episode we focus on how Tom got started and his experience as a teacher, from PGCE teacher training to peripatetic work to instrumental lessons. Teaching's probably the most common form of employment for musicians beyond gigging itself, so his insights are invaluable to anyone interested in making a living from music, but not in living gig to gig like the majority of professionals. So that's quite enough ado for one episode. Let's get going. Oh, and I've split this into two parts again, so this is part one. Let's go. Right, so we're here at my secret underground lair, or it could be a flat in Crumpsall. Who knows? This is an audio medium, so it could be either. But I'm here with Tom Favell today, a multi-instrumentalist, professional musician, teacher. He does it all, and welcome aboard, man.
Thanks for having me. I'll be honest, I'm flattered. I've really enjoyed your first series of Big Gig Energy. Best name ever, by the way.
Thank you.
And I just got a lot out of it, so I really appreciate you asking me to get involved.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So, the sort of usual starting point is, how did you get into music? What inspired you to take it up in the first place?
Oh, man. Lots of different things. I think I actually started off, I know you're gonna go, can't believe this, but I started off on the drums.
Right.
When I was like 9. Did a little bit of drum lessons for about 6 months, and then also my oldest brother, played drums in a Scottish pipe band because my family are all Scottish.
Oh, cool.
So I went along to that for a while, got really into the drums, and then when I got to secondary school, I kind of got given a guitar and moved across. So inspiration-wise, I suppose my brother, because he was playing drums at the time, but just kind of, you discover Oasis and you discover Nirvana and the Beatles, obviously. My earliest memory music-wise is like Pink Floyd, the Beatles, and Queen.
Nice.
Remember there was that Queen, the black one, the greatest hits with the red.
Yeah.
You know that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that one. Beatles, obviously, because particularly my dad, really got strong memories of the White Album, Abbey Road, all that kind of stuff. And then Oasis, the first gig I went to was Oasis when I was 12. At Wembley Stadium before they demolished it.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Piece of history that, seeing them there.
I'm on a recording. There's a recording of it. There's a CD in there. Kind of those kind of things, and then discovering Nirvana when I was about 12, and discovering baggy jeans and not looking back, and becoming an indie kid, obviously. But kind of drums, moving on to guitar when I was about 11, doing that at school, and then playing in bands. That's where I met Jack.
Of
Ellis.
course.
We were in the same form together in year 7.
Wow. You guys go way back.
Yeah, I swear for the first 6 months he didn't say a word. He was very shy back then.
Wow.
And he hid behind his curtains, his hair. But he was an amazing guitarist and he inspired me a lot. I was like, wow, this guy's amazing. I was like, I need to try and catch up. So we started playing together and moved to college. We both went to college as well, Leicester College, did music. Yeah, so kind of just developed from there, really. I think if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So At what point did you start gigging then?
Oh, yeah, good question. Early college, because we used to do these gigs at college. So I went to Leicester College, and I went to a place called Access to Music, which is now called Access Creative College, something like that.
Oh, okay.
It's like an education provider that there's one in Manchester. There's loads. So they used to do a gig every month, and we used to gig at this place in Leicester called The Shed, which was basically like, for people that remember it, it's kind of similar to the Roadhouse in Manchester.
Okay.
So we used to do gigs every month. So I did those, but then I started to branch out and played in a couple of bands at college, and I started to do solo stuff as well, originals and covers. So probably about 16, 17 maybe.
Right,
college.
yeah.
My dad was the roadie.
Oh, okay,
He would drive me to every gig.
Amazing.
in his old Astra estate. He'd always be happy to drive me somewhere and pick me up. So yeah, that was kind of my first step into gigging, really. Yeah,
That's brilliant.
Really.
Did you have any preference on what you did? 'Cause obviously, I know you do like acoustic solo stuff and band stuff. And what did you enjoy the most at the time?
A bit of both. I think I did the solo thing because when I got to college, before I got to college, I really got into like Neil Young and singer-songwriters. So I was really into the kind of solo thing. I enjoyed going to open mics and playing songs on my own. But I played in a few bands as well, so I think it was kind of a bit of both, really. I think, and I still kind of do that now. I think I enjoy, if I just play on my own, it gets boring and it gets quite lonely.
Of course.
But then when you play constantly in a band, it can feel a little bit by the numbers, a little bit boring. So I think I'm a bit of a boring answer, but a bit of both, really.
No, it's good. It's a way of keeping it sustainable, isn't it? If you don't do too much of either, then it stops either of them getting stale.
Absolutely, and I think I do that a lot in general, especially with originals and cover gigs. Try to get a balance between the two. So yeah.
Have you always been writing original stuff, or is that a later development?
Yeah, I started writing quite young. Not particularly good. It's cringe, really cringe stuff. But from when I started a band with Jack, which was when we were about 12, 13, I started writing material, but never really started playing it properly until college. And that's when I kind of did my solo stuff. So that was kind of, So started it early on, but seriously kind of, I'm going to play my songs to people at a gig more kind of 16, 17, 18 years old. More than the college period. Open mics, to be honest.
Yeah.
Alongside covers. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So what did you do after the college? Did you go straight into teaching and playing professionally, or did you do uni, or
yeah? So Leicester College, did that for 3 years. So that was kind of weird because it was rather than 2. But I found in that 3rd year that I was so ready to leave Leicester, because I just felt like it felt very limited as a city, and I needed to go somewhere bigger. So I decided I was going to go to university, and I looked at Leeds College of Music and I looked at Salford. I ended up choosing Salford. I just got a better vibe from Manchester in general, even though I was going to choose Leeds originally. So I went to university at Salford and did the popular music recording degree.
Oh, nice,
same as Jack did, and a lot of people. It's quite a popular course. Had a great experience overall. Met some great people. Learnt a lot of things. Had some great experiences. Living in Salford was fun in the late noughties.
Amazing.
It was cheap. I'll tell you that.
Imagine that compared to now.
I think the rent in my halls of residence, which was a tower block next to the shopping city, was £62 a week.
Oh my goodness.
All in.
Wow, all in as well.
All in. Yeah.
You couldn't look at a picture of a flat there, that for now.
But I did the job. But it was good. It's good. I had a great experience at uni, and it was. I felt like I got a fair bit out of it, but still enjoy myself, and try to make a bit of connections with people, and a fair bit of playing in a band called Bellevue, which was because it was 2008, was a foot stomping indie band.
Nice.
For my sins, it was good. We did a few gigs. We had an interesting experience where Johnny Marr came in and was a visiting lecturer at Salford, which I don't think he's been in since. And he basically kind of produced us. So we used that to try and get gigs. It was a good experience. Enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. So from there, did you stay? So you just fell in love with Manchester and stayed, or did you go back to Leicester afterwards? What came next from that point?
Yeah, absolutely. I decided that I wanted to stay here, and I decided. I thought, well, even then I thought, is it kind of financially viable to be a musician and because I've been teaching for a long time. So I'd started teaching guitar for a variety of companies. My first one was Clive's Music. They're gone now. Terrible company. I'm just going to say it. They can sue me.
Speak ill of the dead companies. Yeah, it's not the same as
Terrible.
people. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, the one in Leicester was fine. It was like a franchise. Anyway.
Yeah.
But I've been teaching on and off a lot, guitar, all that kind of stuff. So I worked a lot with kids and done a lot of kind of summer school activities when I was at university and stuff like that. So I decided to do teacher training, and I decided to do the PGCE at Manchester Metropolitan University, which was really hard. It was really hard. It wasn't for me, because a variety of reasons. I never really gelled with classroom teaching. And also being a bit beholden to the way schools and teachers tell you the way that it's run. And I think that's why now I still work in schools, but kind of on a freelance basis as a peripatetic tutor. And it's so much better. So I did my teacher training, but it wasn't really for me. I think I got about 2/3 of the way through it. But you could either say that I failed or that I quit. One of those. I think they put that I was at risk of failure. That's always great,
way to spur you on,
great
isn't
way
it?
to encourage you.
Yeah.
But I just realised that I've put as much as I can into this, and I'll be honest, it was one of the hardest years of my life. So I knew that this isn't for me, and so from there I ended up kind of going into teaching instead, but on a private basis and for companies. So I started teaching at Dawson's actually, when they still existed. They've gone now, haven't they?
RIP, yeah.
Yeah, was it about
Not long
6 months ago, a year ago?
Yeah, I think they might have been a COVID casualty, and then they got sold out to another company that just asset stripped them, from what I can gather.
Oh, man. Yeah,
sad.
For the Sins, it was a good first company to teach guitar for full time. Yeah. I taught for the one in Stockport. That was a lovely store. The people that ran that were great. Really nice. And there's still people that I kind of know to this day. It was a good experience because it helped me to kind of understand how to teach privately just on my own. Rather than having someone else tell me what to do. They were just like, right, you can book as many students in as you like. These are the inquiries. I had to give them half of the money, which it wasn't a huge amount, but I was like 22, 23. It was enough. And I did maybe 3 or 4 days a week. Evenings. That was the weirdest thing, actually. I taught at the shop. So when I got there, they said, they just gave me this huge bunch of keys. And they went, and I was like, are you not going to be here? And they were like, no, so you've got to lock up the shop when you go. I was like,
ooh.
It's like, well, it was terrifying. Like,
no
I was
pressure.
like, I had to do the alarms, the shutters. I was like, I'd never done that before. And I thought, I know there's cameras, but what's stopping me from just shifting it and just...
There's got to be, hundreds of thousands of quid worth of gear in there at any one time.
It wasn't a big shop, but they had some nice gear in there. Easily. You could have just rolled it with a van and cleared it out. Go to a different country.
Disappear to Latin America, change your name to Miguel Sanchez, and no one will know the better. Yeah.
Is that a Simpsons reference?
It is, yeah.
Good
yeah,
lad.
Lionel Hutz.
It is
the
Lionel Hutz, isn't it? Miguel Sanchez, a.k.a. Miguel Sanchez.
Yeah.
I thought it was. So that was kind of that's what I did from, I ended up doing the teach training, but then realising what I wanted to do really as a kind of something that felt like more of a normal job was teach guitar. So that's kind of what I fell into in a more of a full-time way, even though I've been doing it part-time for a variety of companies through university, through college. And I'm still kind of doing that now, really.
Yeah.
In some way or another.
I think there's a wisdom in spotting, like you did, that it wasn't right to continue down that route of training formally and doing classroom stuff. I know so many people that carried on, finished the courses, went and did it, and had the exact problems that you'd spotted and had them hit over the head with that, where they're just sort of having to work on the school schedule, and you got the marking and all the sort of bureaucracy and targets and all these things that
Absolutely. I'm getting PTSD just saying those words. Seriously. Like, just, I mean, I see it. I think you're spot on. And I appreciate you saying that because, I did have, especially when you've got imposter syndrome and you're your own worst enemy mentally, when you do something and you don't succeed and you kind of sit there and you part of your brain is just going, why didn't you? You've let yourself down, you've let everyone else down, all these kind of things. And you're like, but it ultimately comes down to, I knew that I wasn't happy when I was doing it. And you're right in that, because, some people did say to me at the time, because I think I got to about March or April, so it was only a couple of months from completing it, but I wasn't on target to complete it. And there were people saying, why don't you just try and finish it? And I was like, well, I'm doing the best I can and it's still not good enough. So it clearly doesn't line up. And I think back at it now and I just think, I think I made the right decision, to be honest.
Yeah.
I've been a lot happier since. And I still love working in school. It's a great experience, when you find the right school as well and the right people. But I look at what the classroom teachers have to do and I just think, right, I'm done. See you in a bit.
Nice, yeah.
See, you can have your holiday pay and, and your sick pay. See you in a bit.
Yes.
Yeah. So
It is a different world, isn't it, teaching? But, how do you find it varies between schools? Because from what I hear from teachers, is that one school to another, there can be a completely different ethos. And what's that like?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is as well is I've at the moment I'm in a school freelance directly with a school, which is amazing. Like, it's so much better. But I've worked for a lot of music services. So that's kind of where you have an experience where they try and put you in as many schools as possible. So you end up, like you say, trying to, you go in one school for an hour, then you drive 20 minutes. Then you go to another school for 20 minutes. Then you drive to another school. It's like, so I think, exactly, you do get whiplash, I think, because you get so used to the way one school is, and then you go to another one, and it's nothing like it. And, there's so many variables. And I also feel as well, because you're not spending enough time in that school, you don't get to build enough of a relationship with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're in there for such a little amount of time. I'm in this school now that I'm in for 2 full days. I'm there on a Monday and a Wednesday. And even now, just by doing those 2 days, I felt like I've built up a pretty good relationship with the school, with the office staff, with SLT, with the teachers that work there, with the kids. Just by being there 2 days a week, it's made a huge difference. Whereas if I was just going in there for half an hour a week, they wouldn't know who I was.
Yeah.
They'd be like, who are you again? I've had that quite a few times. Music teacher. Who? They don't know, so I feel like jumping around doesn't help. That I've always preferred just having one school that I work in for 2-3 days a week tops.
Just get to know it and work.
Yeah. And I feel like you're a better teacher for the students as well. Because you're not trying to play catch up constantly. You know where you're going. You know who you're working with. So yeah, I've worked for music services, and I do prefer going freelance. Not just for the money, but I like building up a relationship with a school. It just makes it feel like it's more worth it, and you feel more relaxed as well.
Yeah.
As an educator. So yeah.
That's interesting. Speaking of the teaching, like obviously you've been doing it for quite a while now. How has your teaching style evolved over the years in terms of the approaches you take, and have you learned much about teaching an instrument specifically as well?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been teaching for, I'm doing the maths. Christ. Can I swear on this podcast?
Feel free.
Okay, great.
Feel free.
Sorry, I'm in teacher mode. Fucking hell. I think I've been teaching now for over 20 years.
Right.
Because I started teaching at 16.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've got your 10,000 hours in then?
And more. Yeah. So did Jack, actually. He started teaching around the same time. He did a bit of teaching as well, in a different life. Yeah, definitely. It's definitely developed. I feel like, especially different instruments. Yeah. So, for example, I'm definitely a guitarist. I started teaching singing properly probably about 7 or 8 years ago. But at the time when I got offered it, I was like, I had imposter syndrome. I was like, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm a guitarist who sings. I'm not really a singing teacher, but it's helped me to develop my abilities as that, and that also helped me to develop my abilities on the piano, because I'm a completely self-taught piano player. I've never had lessons. I mean, I can read music reasonably well, but I'm not a pianist kind of thing. But being a singing teacher, piano is a big part of it, so I think that's helped. But definitely, just in general, my teaching approach, I feel like once you get to a certain point, I know a lot of teachers might disagree, maybe they're not, but I think once you get to a certain point as a teacher, you don't need to plan lessons anymore, unless you're doing something very specific. Okay. So by that, I mean, like, you're looking at me going, I'm not sure.
No, this is interesting. Yeah, genuinely. Okay. I can see where you're coming from. Yeah, go on.
So I think by that, I mean that you can get a rough idea when you start teaching a student of where they're at. And once you know what that is, you can then plan from there overall. But I mean that you can look at it and kind of go, right, what in general are we going to do? And, and you can get, like, especially when you've got school lessons, 20 minutes tops, the lessons. They're no more than that usually. So a singing lesson for 20 minutes it's laughable, to be honest. How can you I do an hour when I teach privately. But you get to a point with any instrument, with guitar, with bass, I teach drums as well in school. And you get to a point when it's like, right, I've got time to do maybe 3 things, tops. I can do 3 things in this lesson.
Yeah.
Starter, main and plenary. You know what I mean? Kind of thing, right?
Completely.
Yeah, so it's like, right, what should we do as a quick warm-up? So one thing I've been doing with my guitar students at the moment is I've been going, right, and I found this from a YouTube musician, and, a lot of younger YouTube musicians. I get a lot of inspiration from them as well. So I'm tangenting here, but I think it's really important, because I'm 36, and I think it's really important, not just as a musician, but as an educator and all that kind of thing, that you shouldn't just go, well, I'm the older one here, you have to respect me, and I won't listen to anyone younger or whatever. I hate that idea. I get a lot of ideas from very smart younger generations, like Gen Zs, that are doing a lot of YouTube content where they'll go 5 exercises that I'd recommend or whatever. And one of these popped up. She must have been 20 maybe. One of them was like, right, find every note on every string. But she had a process of doing it. So she's like, let's find E. Find every E on every string. Yeah. E, so like start on the low E, then the D, A, D, G, B, high E kind of thing. Then do it with the next note and just do it for the whole chromatic scale. So I wasn't doing that whole thing, but I said to my student today, I said, right, let's find C sharp on every string in every single position we can. There's your starting exercise, the kind of thing. And then the main part, if they're working on anything particular, right, I want to work on this song. As long as you've got a rough idea of what they want to work on. I just mean, for me, I feel like there's a general kind of pool of ideas that you're going to bring into the lesson.
Yeah.
Generally.
Yeah.
Not always. There might be exceptions where they might change their mind, or they might throw something in new they want to do. And then I'll go, okay, and I might look at it and go, can I get back to you about that? And I'll put some stuff together. But I do think that you get to a point, especially as an instrumental teacher, where you have a pool of teaching resources that sometimes you won't even need to find it on your computer. You'll just go, I know what we can do here.
Yeah.
And I do think you, especially if you've been doing it for long enough, you do get to that point when you can do that. I'm not in any way saying don't plan lessons. I'm not a fan of it.
It sounds like a case of read the room, though. Like, it seems that you get an idea, having worked with that many students over the years, you get someone in front of you and you go, right, okay, you need to do this today. And you can just tell from where they're at and what exercise would serve them or whatever the thing is.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think read the room is a really good way of putting it. And it can change. But so that's kind of, I'd say that's kind of my approach with teaching. I mean, it's something that I've been doing for a long time, and you constantly innovate, obviously. I wouldn't just be like, right, I've got my way of doing it, not going to change. Absolutely not. I always discover new things and go, well, let's put that in. Because as well, I think it's really important to keep it fresh, not just for the student, but I'll be honest, for the teacher. There's nothing worse than like, great, we're teaching them the same song that we've been doing for the last 7 weeks. It's like, let's move on. Let's, even if we come back to something, I think it's good to to keep it fresh.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it's an interesting one with teaching because it's becoming a bit of a theme in terms of professional musicians, people that play music for a living and that also do sort of, I say in inverted commas, normal jobs as well. Teaching's sort of a go-to for people because you can still be creative and be musical, and there's that element of, even just in choosing which exercises to do, there's an element of creativity there and a way of passing that on which you wouldn't get if you were doing something in a different industry. So it's nice that it ties into... Obviously, it's not for everyone, but for the people that love it, it's,
Absolutely, it's not for everyone. And there are times when I've overdone it and I've been doing a type of teaching that I'm not enjoying and I've changed it. I definitely agree. It's not for everyone, but I think if you can find your own way of doing it, that's what I'm trying to do, to be honest. I don't want to just agree to stuff that I'm not really into anymore. So, for example, whole class ensemble tuition, used to call it wider ups. Hate it. That's where you go into a primary school and you have to deal with 30 kids and try and teach them an instrument. And they all have an instrument each. Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
Like, no offence to the kids. I bet there's loads of kids that have got a lot out of those lessons. I'm glad, but I did not. It was spending 15 minutes tuning guitars.
Yeah, I feel as well like instrumental tuition, it's a very personal thing. Everyone learns at a different speed.
Well, yeah.
And that's not to say some people are always better than others, but even just like the best of students could learn slower than the other best of students that are just as able but learn differently in that. And
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. The differentiation element. Yeah. So that really wasn't for me. And ever since I've worked for music services in the past, I've just said to them, I'm going to be really upfront with you right here. I don't want to do wider ups. If you offer it me, I will just say no. No offence, I just don't want to do it. It's just not for me. Some people love it. I've got friends that we chat about it. Like, do you know a guy called Ben Yates?
Ben Yates? No.
He works for Bolton Music Service and he's like a bassist. He's a drummer, bassist, and we do a lot of function work together.
Oh, cool.
Have you heard of a band called Run for Cover?
Yes, yeah.
He runs Run for Cover.
Oh, cool.
And he loves wider ups. But he's got this kind of infectious enthusiasm that I don't have. Like, he can deal with it. He's also got very young kids. So right. I'm like, well, I don't. So, you know. But yeah, some people love it, but for me, not so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I think that's a good place to pause this for now. We'll be back next week with part 2, where we'll talk more about Tom's musical career outside of the classroom. See you then. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Big Gig Energy podcast. This is the bit where I'm obliged to fish for engagement and stuff, so you can find me on Instagram as Big Gig Energy, that's BIGGIGENERGY, or you can get in touch via email at biggigenergy@gmail.com. I'll link anything relevant in the show notes below, but otherwise, if you've had any thoughts on this episode or would be interested in some one-to-one coaching for yourself and or your band, feel free to get in touch. Otherwise, do all the usual social media stuff, I guess, and let's keep the discussion going. Many thanks as ever to all my supporters and collaborators, and as always, best of luck with your next big gig.